My name is Jonathan Gilliam, and this is The Experts. And it's great to be back with you all. I'm off the road now, back in New York. Can't say that I'm happy to be back here. Not happy to be back in the land of Cuomo. I do miss Arizona and Arkansas, and I'll be heading back to Illinois sometime soon. I'm not going to announce where I'm going or when I'm going to be there because of Cuomo's his dictatorial laws here. Who I don't know how do these governors? This is what I don't get. How these governors and mayors around the country seem to just dictate law now. Do you remember it used to be a time when there was a legislature and they would make laws and then, you know, in case of the federal government, the executive branch would enforce the laws and the Supreme Court and the judicial branch would then judge the laws or determine the constitutionality of the laws. I mean, none of that stuff exists anymore at all. It's now, especially on the state level, they can just make and do whatever they want. They don't like the Second Amendment, they'll just pass an executive order. They don't like, they think that the virus is something that maybe doctors don't think, or maybe the virus is, you know, I had the virus, by the way, and maybe it is something, but they're going to make it into something even bigger. It seems like that they can, from at any point that they want now on a state level, on a as far as a judicial level, they just completely do whatever they want. They make up laws as they go along. You even have now certain agencies. There's a big uproar about the ATF in Boston. Just this week has sent out some kind of letter saying that these AR pistols, and certain ones that really there's nothing that differentiates them from any other AR pistol, that now those are illegal. And from what I can gather over my time in law enforcement is that law enforcement agencies and special agents in charge don't make laws. But it seems like everywhere we turn around now that that's what's occurring, that they're making their own laws. I don't know. I know I'm not the only one frustrated with this stuff. I mean, it's gotten so frustrating for me that I don't know if you realize this or not, but I'm not on Instagram anymore. I got my account was deleted. At first they said 30 days. I don't know if it's even coming back after 30 days. There's no way. There's nobody for me to get in touch with at Instagram to find out why this happened. I did nothing different in the past, probably 4 years. Nothing has changed. I haven't done anything. I don't put explicit stuff up there. I put political stuff up there, but there's nothing on was nothing on my Instagram account that was even remotely bad. There's no nipple slips. There's nothing. I just put, you know, basically my podcast is what I put up there, and some memes, or if I tweet something, I'll take a picture of the tweet and put it up on Instagram. So I thought, you know, when it happened, I'm like, wow, that's interesting. You know, it just gone. No way that I can actually even remotely contact them. And then just 2 days ago, I go to, you know, as I often do, change my password on my social media. And I go to Facebook to change my password. And wow, all of a sudden it's not recognizing my password. I get locked out. And I can't get back in. I can't get into my public verified profile. I can't access my private profile. I can't access any of it. And I've gone through all the steps that they ask you to go through. Doesn't matter. Just sits there and says, you know, we'll get in touch with you. So far, it's been 2 days. Nobody's gotten in touch with me. Written there, I guess I'm writing Facebook. I mean, their security team will write you when you change your password, but who knows exactly how to get in touch with Facebook. I mean, I can't get in touch with them, with the support team, when I am locked out of my account. I can't click on anything. I can't get in there. Very aggravating. One of the reasons why I'm, my Connect Zing profile is becoming more important for sure. And why you should also go on to Connect Zing. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but all this stuff that's occurring, how am I relating that to what I was talking about there at the beginning, which is how no one stays in their lane in the government, federal, state, or local governments, and how they're making laws or anything. I mean, one thing that this virus has shown is the same thing that Trump kind of pulled out or caused people to expose themselves when he got, actually before he even got elected, when he started running for office, and especially in 2016 on, was he caused these leftists to expose themselves, because at first they were just outraged. I don't think they know why they're outraged. I've talked about demonic possession and influence in an earlier podcast. I'm going to refer back to that in just a minute because of what happened this weekend. Pretty amazing stuff. But when I look at what's occurring and what's occurred since 2016, really, in media, and I talk about how, how things started to change around 2015, 2016 in media. How when I was at CNN and at Fox, how they were using real experts. And then almost in the blink of an eye, when the election process started to spin up and President Trump announced that he would be running, media instantly changed. It changed where they don't use experts, only political pundits, journalists, and pretty people. That's what I like to call them. They have no experience in anything. All of a sudden, social media influencers, right? Remember, social media influencer is somebody who somehow becomes popular on social media. It doesn't mean that they have experience. It doesn't mean that they're social media, that they're experts that are on social media. It just means that they're influencers, and for some reason or another, people will follow them, and then they get a big name. And that seems to be all of a sudden on media. Those are some of the people that we see now, which I put them in the exact same category as journalists. Fox News loves, on foxnews.com, they keep putting this guy up there, and every time they do a story with him, it's a former New York Times reporter. And then today, let's see what it was. I'll try to pull it up here real quick while I'm talking. It was a former New York Times scribe, I think it was, is how they put it on here. He's one of the most awful people to look at. I don't even know what his name is. Trying to look it back up. Obviously, the story didn't last too long. It was on there. It was on there 30 minutes ago. Don't see it now. But Benson, I think, is his name. That's how forgettable he is. But journalists have been used for a long time. You see this on Sunday on Fox News, on all the news networks. Actually, you see. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Alex Berenson. He, for some reason, he's the guy that Fox News loves to use. Sometimes he uses his name, like here. Media doesn't want. This is the title. Alex Berenson. Media doesn't want to cover anything that says mask may not be God's gift to all of us. Now, none of the stories he talks about or anything, I don't know who he knows at Fox News, but for some reason, his opinion matters at Fox News. It's like all these other media journalists that are literally every Sunday, or on Brett Baer's show is a perfect example on Fox News in the afternoons. And I'm talking about Fox News the most because that's what I would think that most of the people who listen to this podcast actually tune into. But it's obvious the same at CNN, at MSNBC, on the Drudge Report, all the different news aggregates. All the opinions that you're seeing are not expert opinions in anything. These are people who, well, they used to at least go to college for journalism. I don't even think they do that now. I remember in 2016, 2017, looking up for all the debates and looking up the moderators, and many of them dropped out of college, didn't even finish college. But see, this is what has occurred since 2016, is starting with the social media influencers. They've now become considered, for some strange reason, experts. Their opinions mean something. Journalists before them, and now it's become even bigger, where whole networks have nothing to do. They have no analysis at all from experts in certain fields. They just simply turn to journalists. They simply turn to social media influencers and young people. That occurred. At the same time, the judicial system, I won't even say the judicial branch of the federal government, the entire judicial system, federal, state, and local, became legislators. And they've always kind of attempted that. I mean, I love listening to these Supreme Court justices talk about how they don't lean to the left or to the right. They try to stay neutral. I mean, if that was the case, especially the Supreme Court's a perfect example of that, you wouldn't see conservatives being appointed when a conservative is in office, and you wouldn't see liberals being only appointed when liberals are in office. You wouldn't see one of the most liberal areas in the United States, San Francisco, in that area, where the Ninth Circuit Court is, almost all liberal. Changed now a little bit because of Trump. But overall, you see what I'm saying, that the justices across the land at all different levels are legislating. They're not doing their job, right? They're not looking at the laws that come in. This is when we talk about the Supreme Court, and saying whether or not that's a constitutional violation, whether or not it follows the Constitution, and however else that they come about these. They don't do that. They're literally trying to change law, not to interpret the law, not to interpret the Constitution. They're trying to change it and modify it to their political party or to their ideology. They're trying to legislate. You look at Congress, the House of Representatives and Senate both have now become just political parties. They are not for the people, by the people. They are just simply political parties. That's all it is. They just simply go at each other for their political side. None of them, on by and large, I mean, there are individuals. Louis Gohmert, I've talked about him. I really trust and love Louis Gohmert. I think he's a man among men, and I love his opinion on things. He's looking out for the country. But I can't say that about the rest of the Republican Party. I definitely can't say that about the Democrat Party. These are, whether it's the Senate or Congress, they're just parties. I mean, how many senators that are Republican are going to differ from representatives that are Republican? Same thing with Democrats. And how many times have they gone and done stuff and judged stuff, or when I say judge, when they have sat down and what you're hoping they create laws that stick with the Constitution. They don't even consider the Constitution. The whole thing. Nobody stays in their lane anymore. Nobody has an expertise. Nobody has a field in which they work, and that's what they do. It's as if the same thing, well, I mean, it's kind of turning into this. The DOD, for instance, the Marine Corps right now, the Crucible is, they're considering closing that. That's in North Carolina, I believe. That's where they train Marines to be Marines. And now they're considering closing that because they want to integrate men and women in training in the Marine Corps. Why that's so important that has to be done, I don't know. Why they can't just train women with women and men with men so that they can all have the Spartan lifestyle and then integrate them into the mission together. I don't know. They don't think like that. They don't think tactically. They don't think what is the best warfighting machine that we can build. It's now a social justice movement. It's not even an experiment anymore. It used to be you would say that the DOD is nothing, that now there's social experimentation going on. Now it's not even that. It is a social justice movement within the DOD. The very existence of the Department of Defense, which should be the Department of War, but the very existence for the DOD is to defend freedom and defend the nation, to wage war and ensure the protection against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I mean, people don't realize it. They think posse comitatus, domestic is out. It's not. I'm telling you right now, especially the Democrats get in office. They're going to utilize the same forces they were criticizing Trump for using. Trust me on that. But the fact is, the DOD has now become a social justice machine. And what they do there influences the rest of the country greatly. Nothing is in its lane anymore. I could say this 1,000 times. Social media, which, I kind of put all this together there at the beginning, and you're wondering how am I talking about this in social media, but social media completely reflects this. It's not even social anymore. It really, what it is now is divisive media. It's not social media. It's divisive media. You either feel this way or you feel that way. And if you feel this way, well, you stand a good chance of being blocked, and your opinion doesn't matter. It gets pushed out because the people that run these social media platforms are by and large left. And if you don't feel the way that they do, they will do what they can. If you have a voice that reaches a certain level, they are going to censor you. And in the cases of what's happened to me over the past couple of weeks, they're going to completely push you right out. They're going to cancel you. I mean, I knew it could happen. I was warning people. Facebook sent out a thing saying that October 1st, things were going to change. And sure enough, it took about 11 days for Facebook. It took even less for Instagram, which is owned by Facebook. So no one stays in their lane. What they are doesn't even reflect what they do anymore, who they are. That's why I was saying that about the ATF. The ATF's not a legislative body. They don't make laws. But apparently, they can tell you they can take a pen or probably a computer and print it out, sign it, and now they're going to make millions of people felons, potentially, because a special agent in charge in Boston, which I don't know who it is, but I have a good feeling they're probably a leftist trying to undermine the president, they have now, with the stroke of a pen, literally made millions of people potential felons. People that have no clue that that's occurring. The entire thing that is occurring right now, that's occurring right in front of people, which they see it, they grumble about it. I don't think most people realize the level that this is at, the coordination that this is at. But it's happening, and it's happening very quickly. And I want to let you hear. I can't show you because I'm on a podcast, but I want you to hear my speech from this weekend at a Rally for Life up in Albany, and it was in New York. In Albany, New York, a Rally for Life. It was basically a rally to support businesses that have failed, people who've lost loved ones, just how this entire society in New York and the state of New York has crumbled because of Cuomo, Governor Cuomo. And just like I'm describing all this stuff, for the past 19 minutes, about what's happening in this nation. Well, what occurred this weekend is a perfect example of the difference from a couple of years ago, well, even a year ago, to now, I would say, but really by and large since 2016, how different everything is. Not just people not staying in their lane as far as their job description goes and what form of government that they're in, or what area of the government that they're in, but also people, and how people have completely, just totally let go of any type of morality or common decency when it comes to the very things that they spout off about freedom of speech and freedom of religion and all these different things. How if you're not, it's really basically now, if you don't feel like they do, well, then you're going to be censored. And when it comes to a rally, they're going to come there and disrupt. And one of the things about this rally was supporting law enforcement. But there was no support from law enforcement there. I literally sat there and watched people from Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Yes, folks, they're one in the same. Okay? They were all together. Some of them had BLM shirts on. Some of them had Antifa shirts on. Some of these people had body armor on. And some of them walking around in full black fatigues with face masks and backpacks big enough to go out, bigger than a 3-day pack, which we would carry in the SEAL teams. These people had like Marine Corps type or Ranger, what Rangers would carry, what we carry in Ranger School. This one girl's walking around. I don't know what she had in that backpack, but it was stuffed to the gills. Now, law enforcement sat up there about 50 yards away, collected together. These are state police that work in the Capitol, in and around the Capitol. They look just like troopers. They didn't do anything to stop this. They were on their cell phones the whole time. They didn't even acted like they cared. And this was a rally that was planned, a rally that people got permits to have the rally there. Of course, it's on a weekend, which, you know, I love everybody that's there, but the reality is with these rallies that we have and we all go to, and the biggest thing about these rallies is that we're going out and we're meeting each other. That's really the biggest thing, is that we're going out and we're seeing, hey, there are other people that feel like we do. There are other people that believe in the Constitution still. There are other Christians out there. But as far as getting stuff done, it's on a weekend. I don't really know what's going to get done. And that's something I think we all need to work towards quickly. I mean, seeing as how we got, I don't know, it's around 30 days left. I don't know the exact number of days, but it's not a lot before the election. So I'm sitting there. And again, with these speeches that I give, I know what I'm going to talk about. Sometimes I actually write an outline, but inevitably I get up there and the speech changes when I get up there. It's almost like this podcast. It just flows. And when I get up there, certain things grab my attention, or certain things are motivating me when I walk up there. I see the way the crowd is reacting to certain things, and I know what they need to hear. Call it God speaking through me, call it intuition, whatever you want to call it. I do believe when I get up in front of a crowd, and this is serious business that we're talking about, life, I do believe God does speak through me, as he does through many people when they get up in front of a crowd for the right reasons. So I get up in front of this crowd, and one of the things you're going to see, or you're going to hear when you listen to this speech, is that I directly start talking to this group that's there, and I call them out for the reality of what is happening, which is that nothing that they're doing makes sense. I'm not talking about the Christians that are out there and the right, the support of life, but I'm talking about the Antifa and the Black Lives Matter people. As I'm walking towards the podium, my focus shifted from what my main goal was, to get up there and talk about how we go and we do all these Blue Lives Matter rallies. That's probably the biggest rally that the conservatives have next to Trump, next to the Trump rallies. So we go, and my goal was to go up there and talk about the importance of shifting from the Blue Lives Matter and the Trump rallies to the Constitution and to freedom and to understanding our rights, rallies for us, for we the people. I mean, I believe that is a rally for Trump. That is a rally for law enforcement. But I think our focus needs to start changing, and so that we become stronger and more powerful and more unified as a collection of free thinkers. But as I'm approaching the podium, in an instant, I reflected back on this podcast that I had done. I think that was podcast 108. I think that's what it was. Yeah, it's 108. I just went and looked back at it. So when I talk about demonic influence, demonic possession, as I walk up to the podium and I see these Black Lives Matter shirts and these Antifa shirts and they're mixed together, automatically I know that everything that Black Lives Matter organization, I already know this, they're a Marxist organization. They're really not out to help Black lives. I mean, you can go to the inner city and you can see nothing has changed in the inner city, that the reality of the destructive behavior between, or the relationship, I should say, between law enforcement and people that live in the inner city has nothing to do with police going out there and brutalizing people. It has more to do with the liberals and the progressives and their defunding of police, the way that mayors have utilized law enforcement, and governors have utilized law enforcement for agendas. They've cut back on training, cut back on hiring effective people, implemented social justice hiring procedures, which means we get people who are less qualified for the job, and overall judicial system and a legislative system around the country that has bastardized the definition of law enforcement to the point where law enforcement doesn't even understand what their job is as part of the community. That's the reality of where the side of the law enforcement's problem is. But the inner city is the ones that define the actions of law enforcement. That's the reality of it. Their actions, the violence, the disrespect for society, that is what pushes law enforcement to be aggressive. Not just one or two bad cops. The reality is the training and the actions are ramped up because of that. You can throw in their terrorism as well, because law enforcement then determines what their actions are going to be based on the worst thing that happened. But they've completely left any understanding of community. They just completely let that go, both on the police and the inner cities sides. None of them care about the community at large anymore. Law enforcement can say that they do, but by and large, law enforcement, I know I'm speaking from a law enforcement officer, law enforcement, the definition of their job has nothing to do with community, nothing to do with standards, morals, and ethics, nothing. It just has to do with, I mean, in many cases, enforcing the laws, but also going above and beyond, which in Arizona is the one thing that really bothered me, was that law enforcement still plays that game in this day and age when we should get away from this game of, like, for instance, speed traps, where quotas, these types of things. Law enforcement is a serious job now. The world is a dangerous place, and communities are dying. And not say that law enforcement is going to save all of that, but law enforcement has to realize that your ability to fight bad guys and your ability to not only mend fences, but build fences and bridges in communities are equally important. And the inner city, you know, I don't know what to do with them, because they're in the same ballpark as far as like complete loss of understanding of societal behavior. And Black Lives Matter is doing nothing for that. So when I see them and I'm approaching the podium and I see Black Lives Matter and Antifa standing not together, they are one and the same, I know the reality of what's happening. I already knew it, but I see it now firsthand. And I'm waiting for this aggression to happen. Now they were at this point, they were somewhat calm. They hadn't really done anything, but their sheer presence with body armor on. One guy had a plate carrier underneath his T-shirt, sitting there filming everything. They're all filming everything with their phones. It's disturbing. And it's also an intimidation factor. And it goes back to what I'm saying, where if you don't agree with them, which I hope that you don't agree with them, you're going to be censored by them in the way that they're going to come out there and they're going to attempt to disrupt what you're doing, which in this case was a rally for life in support of people who've lost loved ones and companies and businesses and jobs. There was nothing wrong, nothing bad, nothing detrimental about that rally. But these people showed up primarily because Cuomo was embedded with all of them, and law enforcement sat up there and did not separate these groups. One group, the Rally for Life, they had their permits. They had their permission to be there. The other group did not. There was no way that they could go out and ask for a permit to protest at the same place at the same time within the same square footage. And if they did do that and they got a permit for it, well, that's wrong. That means the politicians are allowing them to intimidate free speech. So police didn't come down there. They didn't try to push these people to the side. And there wasn't like there was hundreds of them. There was, I don't know, I guess 20. At one point, there was maybe 30 to 40 of these people, in which case with the Rally for Life, there was probably, I don't know, I wouldn't say 500. I'd say between 200 and 300. People still don't want to come out because they are afraid of this virus. So as I'm approaching the podium, I see and I feel that my focus is changing because these groups are there. They're together. They're not being separated. Law enforcement's on their phones. And I started reflecting back on the podcast 108, which was a result of a video that I watched as I was driving down the freeway about demonic. You can call it possession, you can call it influence, but as the individual that was doing the video described what he had seen over years and years of working with people who were possessed, when he described the reality, it's not Freddy Krueger and it's not any of these Hollywood descriptions of possession. It's not that at all. The behavior that he described is exactly what I was seeing standing in front of me, exactly what I'd seen in Portland, exactly what I'd seen in Wyoming and Chicago, or excuse me, Wisconsin and Chicago, and in New York and all these other places. And it's not what Hollywood makes it out to be. So it's more disruptive. It's more hysterical. And I'm not talking about laughter. I'm talking about just out of control types of behaviors. In Denver, there's an argument. They were at a rally. Guy goes to spray pepper spray and another individual shoots him. Shoots him dead. And you can see that the instant after he shot the guy, you literally can see the energy flow out of him, the shooter, and a look of almost bewilderment in his face as he gets down on his knees and law enforcement comes up there. It's as if the influence had left him in a second. Now, I don't know if this is the case. I haven't talked to the guy. I don't know who the guy is. But I can see visibly in the pictures that there's a change. And I see, as I'm walking towards the podium this Saturday in Albany, I see the behavior of these people and how it's starting to become sporadic, kind of hysterical, kind of They're getting agitated a little bit, but they're still pretty calm. And so I wanted to do a test. And I wanted to test my theory that this is demonic possession or demonic influence, that it is around the country, and that it's at different levels of, I guess you could say, worker and mid-level manager and upper-level manager. There is a hierarchy to these demons. And I wanted to see if I called them out, what would happen. And again, at this point, they're somewhat calm. They're just there trying to intimidate at this point, but not really becoming too verbal, too over the top. Now, as you hear my speech, again, my direction for what I was going to talk about instantly changes. I'm walking up there, and it went from trying to convince people that they need to start rallying for freedom's sake, and that would actually be, instead of back to blue and President Trump, it would be, we go there for freedom, for the people, for us. And that would, in turn, support the president, support law enforcement. But the focus is wrong. We're being told that you got to go and support the blue, back to blue, when in fact, we should be back in the Constitution. We should be standing together for the right reasons, which means we would be standing for them. People need to start seeing this because they're losing vision of the reality of what's happening. Yes, there is a war on law enforcement. Yes, there is a war on President Trump. But overall, those wars are symptoms of the overall war, which is the war on the Constitution, the war on freedom, and the war on ethics and morals, which is really, we're a Judeo-Christian based nation. So there's a war on that. That is the reality. This is a spiritual war. I can't say that enough. So as I give this speech and I'm walking up there, the focus instantly changed. And I think you're going to hear this. Now, at one point, I go from talking about life. That is my main focus, is that life matters. Life has to matter in this nation. If life, not lives do matter, but life has to matter first. All this came to me in an instant as I'm walking up there. Did not plan this. This was not written out. This is a spontaneous speech where I completely shift, and this happens often. I completely shift from what I was intending to talk about to what I was being propelled to talk about by God, by what was needed at that moment. I start out talking about life, and then I direct my attention not directly at them, but I start talking about the reality of demonic possession and the reality of these riots and this movement by the left. So you will see, you will be able to hear how that shift occurs. Now, what I don't have, because I couldn't really let you hear it, you would have to see it, was that they became very agitated by the end of this speech. And the speech is about 11 minutes long. By the end of the speech, they're becoming agitated. By the time I was done, let me just put it to you this way. I didn't stay there that much longer because I was a little concerned that something was going to occur at that point. And I actually told the individuals who are great people that organized this entire thing, I told them, I'm going to be leaving. And I would advise, I don't know how long you have this going, but you need to amp up your awareness, and then this probably needs to come to an end soon. And it was coming to an end, but I wouldn't drag it on. It wasn't like they ended it early, but I told them, I said, my suggestion is that you don't drag it on. And then everybody needs to be very careful as they leave here, because there was a complete shift in the mood. And this wasn't just me. Other people that were there felt the same way. A complete shift in the mood by these individuals after I called out the demonic entities and Satan himself, as you will see, or as you will hear. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. And then at the end of the speech, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the show and then I'll come back on tomorrow's show and discuss this further, because I want you to kind of think about this, and then I want you to, as you look through the news and you look for through the things that are occurring, the behaviors that are occurring, I want you to think about this. If you haven't listened to episode 108, listen to that as well. And then I challenge you, which I'll reiterate this after the speech, I challenge you that if you are in the midst of somebody who is irrational in their thought now, to discuss this demon influence, this demonic influence, and the reality of how it is evident now. And I want you to do your own little test and see what occurs. Because what it feels like when you see it is like when you turn up the energy level in a room, when you turn up the volume. I don't know if you've ever seen where they take a speaker and lay it on its side, and they'll put ball bearings or different things, or sand, for instance, on top of the speaker. And as they turn it up, the particles start to bounce. That's what it's like, as if you're turning up the energy, and they don't like it. They do not like being called out, and it causes hysteria, which I saw after I gave this speech. And unfortunately, you won't be able to see it, but you'll be able to hear where my focus was. So here's the speech in its entirety. Enjoy.
No lives matter until life matters. How can anyone say that one life over another matters, or approach anyone to say my life matters, if life doesn't matter?
All life matters.
All life matters. When I got commissioned as an officer in the Navy, and before that as a police officer, after that as an air marshal flying undercover in 2002, then as an FBI agent, I never took the oath of office for one particular group. I didn't take the oath of office for people who weren't gay or aren't black. I didn't take the oath of office for men over women. I took the oath of office for the Constitution.
Yes.
Without the Constitution, and without those who take the oath to support and defend that Constitution, not only do you not have rights, but you have no right to life. God granted all of us these rights.
Yes.
No man can take away your rights. However, dictators, large and small, some of them sit right here, some of them sit in media, some of them sit on your school boards, some of them are activists. You don't have to be a super supreme leader of a nation to be a dictator. Some of these dictators don't value life in general, and they certainly don't value your life. They don't value your business's life. They don't value the life of the unborn.
Yep.
And they certainly don't value your freedoms and your freedom to speak out and your freedom to protect life. When I took these oaths, I say I took the oaths to the Constitution. My job was to support and defend the Constitution. And those that are here and counter-protest, whatever that may be, a counter-protest to life, I'm not exactly sure what that is.
Exactly.
And those that are here for the right reasons, You must realize you are the defender of the Constitution. You are the defenders of life. And you are the reason why people like that are in office. Because when you stop standing together, when you stop standing up for freedom, when you stop standing up for your rights, and you lay down and you become comfortable, what happens is nefarious individuals, those who want to take your life, those that don't care about your freedoms, those are the people that step in and they take it from you. No free man has ever willingly given over their freedoms. No free man has ever given over their right to life and to protect life unless they first laid down and allowed those who want to take it to have it. I want that to sink in. I want that to sink in because what is happening right now in this country, what's happening in this country is our fault. Even those who served in the military and in law enforcement, right now you have a choice. Do you follow these dictators? Do you follow those who are convincing you that the Constitution is the wrong thing, that you have to progress further? Are you following those people that tell you, don't worry about it, we got it handled? Don't worry about it. The Constitution's okay. We're not really going to hurt it. Just vote us into office, let us change a few things, and we'll take care of it. The people have to start being smarter. The smarter your phones are, the dumber you are. You might as well realize that right now. But here, I want you, I don't want to make this a long speech. It doesn't have to be. Because what's happening now is very simple. Communism, this thing that we thought had come and gone, is older than we realize. This is the truth about what communism is. Communism is Satan's lie.
Right, that's right.
It started way back in the Garden of Eden. I don't know if you realize this, but Satan never ate the apple. He convinced the human to eat that apple because he knew that if you ate of that apple, you would surely die. And so he convinced the humans to eat of that apple so that they would be filled with the knowledge of good and evil, right and wrong. And as they ate of that apple and they took on that knowledge, God said, let us protect the tree of life so they don't become like us, knowing good and evil and living forever. Satan does not know good and evil, but apparently does live forever. He's here. His demonic spirits are here. You don't believe me? Look at the actions of rioters in Portland, in Wisconsin, in Rochester, New York. Look how coordinatedly evil their actions are. Look at how their actions are being led by people in media and in government in such a coordinated fashion. Listen, I was at the tip of the spear in the Navy, in the military. I was a Navy SEAL, and I'm here to tell you, no military force on earth could coordinate what is happening now in such a fashion. No human force could do that. It's demonic. And it started in the Garden of Eden. What this is a game for Satan to get power. And he's been working this since the beginning. He is the father of all lies. And those that believe him fall under his spell. If he was going to display himself right now, he is the light bearer, Lucifer. Most people in this world would not know who he is. They would think he's God. Because he's not Freddy Krueger. He's not disgusting to look at. He's a creature of light, of beauty, a liar, a narcissist,
Yes, yes, yes.
a murderer.
Yes.
Everything Cuomo is without the beauty. Stop playing the game, because communism makes you, it lies to you and tells you that there's a utopia that you can have without government, a utopia that will appear through chaos in which a synthesis will occur. It's a lie. Without God,
That's right.
there is no freedom.
That's right.
Without God, there is no utopia. Without God, there is no America. And without God, there is no life. Human beings are an incredibly special creature created by God. But they're also a failed creature. That's why we're here. We're not here forever. But while we are here, it is up to you, each and every one of you, to stand together as a collection of free people, not a collective of communist robots under the spell of Satan. I'm going to say this one more time. You are the answer. You as a collection of free people are the answer. When you leave here today, make sure that this is not it. Don't go home and pat yourself on the back. As the gentleman, the patriot that was just up here a second ago was talking about a war, we are in a war. And we've been in a war for the entire time human beings have been here on this earth. But right now, the war is moving faster and faster. The blood and the stripes on that flag may be yours. This is the front line now. Don't be afraid to stand up. Don't be afraid to spill your blood. Don't be afraid, period. Don't be afraid.
Amen. Amen.
You're Americans. Let me just tell you this. Now I close it up, I don't get long. Let me just tell you this. Being courageous, getting up and actually moving, taking part, nothing feels better than that. It is unbelievable how motivating and how energetic you feel when you do the right thing. Now, as you can hear, I got to go. The helo's coming. So I want to say God bless you. God be with you. And remember, you are the answer. And if you are here in counter-protest, if you're here because you think the answer is not the Constitution, that there's something else out there, let me just tell you, not only are you wrong, but you are dead wrong. And those who will make sure that you're dead will be the left, will be the communists, if they get ushered into power. Don't let that happen. I'm Jonathan Gilliam. Remember, wherever you see my face or you hear my voice, the truth has arrived. I'm out here.
Now, it's imperative. I say it again, it's imperative for those of you that believe in what the Founding Fathers established over 240 years ago. For those of you that believe in what Jesus, the Son of Man, preached over 2,000 years ago. For those of you that believe in the Constitution and in freedom as we know it, it is imperative that you stand together as a collection of free people and that you start standing without fear together. It's imperative that you do that now. I'm Jonathan Gilliam. This is The Experts. The truth has arrived. Peace, and I'm out of here.